Hello everyone, and welcome back to
Would you believe?
Would you believe?
Would you believe? Would you believe?
Would you believe?
Would You Believe, where half of it's made up and the points don't matter. I think that one's already taken. We are going to tell you some unbelievable facts and stories. Half of them are true, and the other half are made up. So grab a piece of paper or open a WordPad to play along. After the questions, we'll give you the opportunity to post your answers before we reveal the truth. So without further ado, let's get started.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Number 1. Let's start off with story time. Which of these tales is true and which is false? In 1964, 28-year-old Kitty Genovese was murdered outside of her New York City apartment. 38 neighbors witnessed the murder, but none of them felt personally responsible to do something about it. This started inquiries into what was later known as the bystander effect, or Genovese syndrome, where people feel less responsible to offer assistance if there are more people around. Or, in 1965, 4-year-old Roger Louser was visiting the beach with his parents and had wandered away from them. He tried to swim out into the water, but the undercurrent pulled him down. Luckily for Louser, a stranger, Alice Blaze, dove into the water, pulled him to shore, and revived him, saving his life. 9 years later, Rogers was at the same beach when he heard a woman yell, "My husband is drowning!" Without hesitation, Roger jumped into an inflatable raft and paddled out to the man, saving his life. It wasn't until the next day when the news reported the story that Roger found out the man he had saved was the husband of Alice Blaze, the woman who saved him from drowning on the same beach 9 years earlier. Number 2. Now, which of these facts about celebrities do you believe? Flea, the bassist from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, provides the voice of the unintelligible Donnie from the Nickelodeon cartoon The Wild Thornberrys. Or, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart wrote the tune Twinkle Twinkle Little Star when he was 5 years old for his older sister. Number 3. Now, which of these bird facts do you believe? There are more fake flamingos in the world than real ones? Or, ostriches stick their heads in the ground when they are scared? Number 4. Now, how about some random trivia about competitive shooting? Which would you believe is true? The world's fastest quick-draw shooter was born without both of his hands. Or, alcohol is considered a performance-enhancing drug in competitive shooting competitions. Number 5. Which of these facts about dinosaurs would you believe? Everyone who's seen Jurassic Park knows the velociraptors are one of the most frightening dinosaurs and strongest hunters. But would you believe their size has been greatly exaggerated and they were really only slightly larger than a turkey? Or, recently, scientists have found fossils of primitive hunting party comprised of 3 young men. The fossils tell the story of them being attacked by a pack of Dilophosaurus and had taken down the whole pack before succumbing to the burning poison these dinosaurs would spit out. Number 6. Which of these prison myths would you believe? Inmates found a way of sneaking cigarettes into solitary confinement using cockroaches? Or, police always have to tell the truth if they are asked if they are an undercover officer? Number 7. What would you believe is true about animals? Starbucks puts bugs in their coffee? Or, gerbils can help find terrorists? Number 8. Now here's some random trivia for you. Which of these facts would you believe? George Washington had dentures made of wood? Or, deaf people suffering from schizophrenia will see disembodied hands signing to them instead of hearing voices? Number 9. What would you believe about anatomy? A person's fingers become wrinkly when wet for too long because the body is absorbing the water. Or, scientists were able to store data, including a movie file, on a strand of DNA and then later retrieve it. Number 10. Now tell us which of these dumb criminals actually existed. A deaf man attempted to rob a bank. The reported robber had gone into a bank and demanded money. The teller noticed something was off when he asked the man if he wanted the money in a bag, and the robber replied back, "You better believe it's a real gun." After some more exchanges like this, the teller identified the robber was deaf and set off the alarm. The robber was unfazed by the blaring alarm and waited patiently for the money as the police arrived and arrested him. Or, a burglar was too sleepy to finish the job. A man broke into the second-floor window of a house where he was under the assumption that the residents were not home. He looted the bedrooms and then proceeded downstairs to the living room. He was grabbing some more of the goods when he heard someone on the couch right next to him shift. He ducked behind the couch and waited. Apparently, there was someone home, and assumingly they were woken by the sounds made by the burglar. But knowing there was nothing wrong, the resident turned on a program on Netflix and began binge-watching, with the burglar stuck there hiding behind the sofa. The waiting must have been too boring for the would-be criminal because he ended up falling asleep. The homeowner spotted the burglar sleeping and ran outside to call the police, who woke him up by placing him in handcuffs. Alright, now it's answer time. This is your cue to pause the video and post your answers in the comments before we reveal the truth. Were you able to identify what was fact and what was fiction? Let's find out.
I'm so excited! I'm so scared!
Number 1. Now, did you believe that a woman was murdered in front of dozens of people with no one coming to her aid? Or did you believe the odd chain of lives being saved? The Kitty Genovese story is one that has been used as a teaching tool to explain people's feelings of responsibility in different situations with different amounts of people around. But in reality, it's been exaggerated. In 2016, it came out that neighbors witnessing the murder did call police, more than once. But the police ignored the calls, thinking it was a case of domestic violence. It was 1964. The local newspapers were the only ones to make the claims that we have believed to be fact for all these years. The truth here is that the weird coincidences did happen. A boy whose life was saved by a woman saved the same woman's husband from the same fate at the same beach 9 years later. Number 2. Now, did you believe that Mozart composed an iconic kid song at the age of 5? Or that a rocking bassist with a blood-sucking bug's name voiced a lovable kid's cartoon character? Mozart did compose a dozen different variations of this song, but so did a lot of other composers of the time, because it was already an old classic. The tune comes from an old French folk song called "Oh Shall I Tell You Mommy," and was borrowed by poets Jane and Ann Taylor for their nursery rhyme, "The Star." But Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers was the voice of Donnie, working this show with other such actors as Tim Curry, Lacey Chabert, and Tim Kaine. Number 3. Now, are you a true bird brain? Were you able to tell which piece of foul trivia was true and which was false? I'm sure a lot of our viewers have seen an ostrich put their heads in the ground when they're scared, but this is another misconception. It started with a writing from hundreds of years ago by Pliny the Elder, who wrote on ostriches, imagining, when they have thrust their head and neck in a brush, what the whole of their body is concealed. So that means that there are more fake flamingos in the world than real ones. We had no idea that there were so many tacky trailer parks. Number 4. Now, did you get a bullseye on our shooting trivia? Does drinking make you a better shot? Or is one of the top speed shooters mostly armless? Well, I'm sure there are some amazing people who have been able to overcome their handicaps to become competitive shooters. This one is made up. Believe it or not, alcohol is considered a performance-enhancing drug in shooting competitions.
I love scotch. I love scotch. Scotchy scotch scotch.
Number 5.
What?
5.
Which prehistoric piece of trivia did you believe? Do you believe that raptors were actually just big turkeys? Or that science has found evidence of primitive man taking out an entire pack of acid-spitting dinosaurs? First off, we'd like to address the true statistic that over 40% of adult Americans think that dinosaurs and humans coexisted.
So dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
The other part of this, we're going to sum up to Jurassic Park being full of lies. The Dilophosaurus was not able to spit out any kind of burning poison at their prey. So that means that velociraptors really were not that big. The velociraptors in Jurassic Park were actually modeled after a different species called Deinonychus, who would get over 6 feet tall and 12 feet long. But the average velociraptor was only about 3 feet tall and 6 feet long. Number 6. Now, which piece of legal trivia was true? Did prisoners smuggle smokes via cockroach, or are police always obligated to tell the truth? You've probably seen in movies and TV a drug dealer directly asking the buyer if they're a cop before they go through with the deal. This is because if they're a cop, they're legally required to identify themselves. But there is no truth to this. This was fabricated by Hollywood, and a myth that police are happy to spread. Imagine how many people have been busted because they were confident that they were not talking to an officer of the law.
Are you still a cop? No! No!
The real story here is in 1938 at an Amarillo, Texas county jail. Dick Vaughn was perplexed as to how 2 of his prisoners kept getting cigarettes into solitary confinement. Daily searches were performed and turned up nothing. It wasn't until another prisoner had pointed out the cigarette smuggler, a large cockroach with a coffin nail tied to its back, which would enter through a crack in the solitary floor. Instead of getting in more trouble, Vaughn actually released the 2 from solitary in awe of their genius, and was quoted saying, "Anybody who can make a cockroach work deserved more freedom for his activities." Number 7. Which of these animal facts did you believe? Starbucks has Buggy coffee, or gerbils have a spider sense? In a way, both are true. Though we're only going to count the gerbils one, seeing as Starbucks has stopped this practice. It was revealed that Starbucks was using carmine to color their strawberry frappuccinos, and carmine comes from crushed up dried bodies of cochineal bugs. So we're only going to give you points if you guessed that gerbils have been used to help fight terrorism. In the 1970s, the Canadian government discovered that gerbils could be trained to detect adrenaline and nervousness in people. They would expose the gerbils to the scent, and the rodent would move a lever indicating what they sensed. The Israeli government also adopted this program to help find terrorists and aid in interrogations. Number 8. How about the random trivia? Did George Washington get splinters while he ate? Or do schizophrenic deaf people see disembodied hands? The truth here is that according to a 2007 study, people who are born deaf will see disembodied hands or mouths talking to them. Now I know a lot of you are about to post in the comments.
No, man. Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
This was taught and published in papers until the mid-20th century, but it was false. Washington did wear dentures, but they were made of a combination of ivory, gold, lead, and the teeth of slaves. No one really knows where the myth of Washington's teeth started, but it's speculated because it's known that he did not take very good care of them, and ivory could have degraded to a grainy, yellowish appearance that resembled wood. Number 9. Let's see how you did on today's anatomy question. Do people start absorbing water, which makes their hands wrinkly? Or can science store files on DNA? I'm sure you've all noticed how wrinkly your fingers will get after swimming or a long bath, but this is not due to absorbing water. This is actually an evolutionary trait that makes it easier for people to grip things while underwater. So that means that science has been able to store data on DNA. In 2007, a bioengineer in Harvard's Wyss Institute was able to successfully store around 700 terabytes of data on a single gram of DNA.
Mind blown.
Number 10. How about our dumb criminals? Were you able to discern which one was completely unbelievable and which one was just unbelievably stupid? Though we're positive there's probably been cases of sleepy criminals taking a nap on the job. In this case, we made up the story. But the tale about the deaf bank robber is true. His name was Klaus Schmidt, and this took place in 1995 at a Berlin bank. So how did you do with today's video? Were you able to see through the fog of lies and into the sunshine of truth? Don't forget to post your scores in the comments below, and we'll pick out some random people with a perfect score to give a shout out to in our next video. And while you're at it, don't forget to press a like and subscribe so you can be alerted when we upload a new video. And we'll see you next time.